Aarav is 24 years old, and his room is a graveyard of good intentions. Look around and you'll find stacks of notebooks titled Business Ideas, Fitness Plan, and Goals 2026. Open any of those planners and you'll see a beautifully designed first page filled with optimism. Turn to page 2 and the reality sets in. Nothing but blank paper. Every morning, Aarav drinks his coffee while watching motivational videos. He downloads productivity apps and creates color-coded schedules. But when the time actually comes to sit down and work, he checks his phone, and the work never starts. We often mistake the act of organizing for actual progress. This endless preparation is a psychological buffer, a way to feel productive while avoiding the uncomfortable friction of real effort. It begins with a single distraction. 5 minutes of scrolling feels harmless, but those minutes effortlessly stretch into hours of lost focus and unintentional delay. Then comes lunch, a nap, evening tea. As the sun sets, Aarav inevitably promises himself that he will definitely start fresh tomorrow. This is a cognitive trap. We treat our future self as a different person, someone who will magically possess the discipline and drive that our current self lacks. Chronic procrastination isn't a sign of laziness. It is a self-imposed prison built on the false assumption that we have an infinite supply of tomorrows to get things right. Contrast Aarav's stagnation with his childhood friend, Kabir. While Aarav is still planning, Kabir is already running a growing company. Kabir's secret wasn't a hidden talent. He simply stopped waiting to feel motivated. He realized that waiting for inspiration is the surest way to stay stuck. Most of us use a backwards mental model. We believe motivation must arrive before we take action. When it doesn't, action never happens. In reality, physical movement generates the momentum that creates motivation. You don't wait for the spark. You create it by moving. Treating inspiration as a requirement for work is why most people stay stagnant. Motivation is a byproduct of doing the work, not a prerequisite for starting it. Seeing his grandson stuck in this loop, Aarav's grandfather handed him a heavy glass jar filled with hundreds of tiny marbles. Each marble represented 1 week of an average human lifespan. This grid shows the total sum of that time. Then, his grandfather removed 24 years' worth of marbles. That's nearly a third of the circles gone instantly. Time already spent that can never be reclaimed. A life isn't lost in one tragic moment. It quietly drains away, one postponed day at a time, until the jar is empty. Quantifying his life this way shifted Aarav's perspective. He was no longer afraid of failing at a new business. He was terrified of reaching the bottom of that jar, having done nothing. Aarav stopped trying to change his whole life overnight. He replaced his massive to-do lists with a simple 5-minute rule. Committing to just 5 minutes of effort bypasses the brain's resistance to hard work. It's a target so small that the psychological barrier to starting virtually disappears. Once he started, momentum took over. Those 5 minutes of work naturally turned into 15, then 40, as he entered a state of focus he hadn't felt in years. He removed the friction by deleting distracting apps and moving his phone to another room. He limited his daily planning to just 3 essential tasks, ensuring he could actually finish what he started. These small, daily actions completed his tasks, but the real impact was internal. By showing up every day, he was finally rebuilding the self-trust he had lost through years of broken promises. This wasn't a sudden transformation, but the result of 12 months of boring, consistent execution. By the time Aarav stood on a stage to accept an entrepreneurship award, the trophy was simply a formal recognition of the work he had already done in private. When asked about his strategy, Aarav didn't talk about complex hacks or genius insights. He told the audience that he simply stopped gambling on tomorrow and started respecting the current day. He still keeps that glass jar on his office desk. It's a constant anchor to the reality that time is scarce and every week matters. Procrastination ends the moment you take the smallest possible action, right now. So, looking at your own life, what are you postponing today?